All right, let's do it. I want to go straight in. I mean, you guys, there's a huge debriefing. I mean, nobody can there's a little bit of question here, like what happened with that guy jumping on you, Ark, and you starting to zap the crap out of every street corner that you saw. Number one. Number two, it was clear that Agent One was like down on his knees practically, right? You know, sweat coming off you, just, battered into the pavement, multiple shells. People saw the shells from that guy's tail just pound you. And you didn't go down, but you were like weaving. And then you said something. And the guy who's clearly the leader, the footage, Marcus Marcus was on it, right? Marcus footage caught it, but there's no way he could have caught the sound. And clearly, whatever you said, the one guy, weak force, evidently, who was seemed to act almost as kind of a director, he said, "Let's go," and they went in that car that I was talking about. What was it? A beat up Taurus or something like that. Some kind of a minivan Taurus kind of thing, whatever that is. And they 10-year-old car. And we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I mean, there's a big debrief. I mean, this task force thing is underway, and I mean, it's like a field. I mean, they commandeer. They don't even wait. We're not going back to the conference room. I mean, they commandeer like the local restaurant. So you guys are sitting in there in the Gojo Japanese Steakhouse. Yes. I even, Jay, in the video that I posted, I even like put the
Right.
picture. I found it. I found a picture of it and I stuck it in the video. so
Man,
so
that is
yeah, they
funny.
commandeer a whole corner of that place, the first floor of that place, and like the cops are in there, and the Laura's there with her, with and the Marcus is there. They've downloaded the footage and like they've got it up on a laptop, right? And everybody's talking at once. And so because we need to move on this is the idea. I mean,
Hmm.
we got to move on this. One of the police officials there is he's ex-military, not that uncommon, and he's like going down the list of like what we do next and all the rest of it. So, um, bless you.
Thank you.
So we have, what do you guys say? I mean, where are we? I mean, your input is valued.
Well, I will definitely order some food.
This is a restaurant, right?
This is a restaurant. That's what you do in a restaurant. Are there any specific questions they're asking me, or are they just saying what happened?
Well, the main one is what did you say? Because the impact on that closed the encounter. They know you
Uh,
said something when you got there, and they know you said something later, and they saw the response in both cases, especially on the weak force guy.
sure. I would tell them what I said, which I am not remembering 100%. But when I got there, it was essentially, wait until your status can be determined.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was down on my knees, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I thought it was something like, why are you guys doing this? We're just trying to assess who you are. I
You
think that's what I
identified
said.
yourself. I mean, you've done it kind of before,
Yeah,
but
I'm like, I'm with the police.
right, it was
Why are you
yeah,
doing this?
it was very clear, and the response was more of confusion and uh, it was kind of like we've got to go reassess. Was kind of the response. Um, and so now the reports are coming in thick and fast. And I mentioned this a little bit at the end of the last session.
Hmm.
Um, the first thing is that the car that they went off in is registered to Ron Reynolds, and they instantly call up his picture from the DMV. No question. It's weak force, not a question. I mean, take one look at him. He's just wearing a mask, right? It's like, oh, it's that guy without a mask, right? Easy enough.
Yeah.
And then second, um, Reynolds has no, criminal history aside from like missing a registration sticker on the occasional gear and stuff like that. Um, and he also is a welder. He has no advanced education. All of his mouthing off about physics is like, what's that? Um, and that car is his. He has a house, a small house, with um, underwater mortgage wise, but not, falling apart or anything.
Hmm.
And is, yeah, he's an employed welder. Um, they're frantically digging around for known acquaintances, whatever. They're trying to like match if they can. Um, they're that's any, but they know where he lives,
Right.
and it's not like the car vanished when it turned a corner. That's He drove it home, and the police are like stunned. They're like, yeah, he went in his house, and like the other guys all like got out of the car, and the, they looked like normal guys, and they went off. One guy took the bus somewhere, and we got tracking him, and they all just kind of went about what looks like ordinary business. One guy went off and got lunch. He's sitting there in the Hojo's right now, or an Arby's or something. He's eating. I mean, like there's an officer like in the Arby's going, I'm sitting right across from him right now. He's eating a burger.
By himself.
Yeah. Said please and thank you when he bought it.
Okay.
I mean, they're baffled, right? I mean, they're like, what do we do? I mean, I don't feel like I'm. I mean, this is the dinosaur guy. I mean, I'm not going to arrest him by myself.
Hmm. Is he still in his
Nope.
I mean is
Nope. Nope.
all right.
Right. So everybody's baffled. I mean, and so they're real interested. They're like, okay, this guy, this Reynolds guy, we're not seeing anything on him. And wait, I assume you told him like, both Agent One is the one who pretty much got most of the verbal, input from these guys because you were right there in the thick of them, and there was dialogue and everything. Do you remember that he kept talking about physics, right? Um, so they're people are trying to ask you to remember different aspects of the dialogue, and you're kind of like, actually, I I'm saying you can remember, right? I'm not saying your character has amnesia or something, but it is also true that you were being blasted off your feet by concussive cells and telekinetic shells and telekinetic shields, and you know, in case you're interested, the special effect of Scratch's attack on you, Jay, the winged
Uh-huh.
guy.
Right.
It's his killing attack that he can back with his strength, but that couldn't get through your armor and your armored body at all. So it did no damage. But on the target of a successful hit on his killing attack, he can do a combined mind control and invisibility that doesn't work on anybody else.
Gotcha.
So then
Got-
the mind control is limited. He can only say, attack me.
Right.
So what it means, what it simulates, is that have this guy's claws rake your face is so upsetting
Right.
that you basically have to start trying to tag him, and you're so racked by it that you can't see where he is. So he can get you to shoot up the street, looking for him, and all he has to do is like fly behind you and go do something else.
Right. 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 Yeah, because
So
you're so enraged, you're compelled. I get it.
yeah, so it's basically like inducing an enrage.
Right. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, so anyway, yeah, I mean, I would have to say that they're, the police psychologist that they manage to, rev up from somewhere manages to dope this out through the course of this discussion. Um,
So if they're all in their civilian identities, as it were, I got to think the Ankylosaur, he's not walking around in his armor. He's just some dude, right?
Yep.
So maybe we start with him,
Right.
because I would think we should be able to, even you know, a regular cop might even be able to just go and arrest him, because if all of his abilities are built into that armor and he's not wearing the armor, we just corner him when he doesn't have the armor. So pick him off, move on to the next guy, deal with them in isolation, and try to figure out how to best mitigate their powers when they're alone.
Works for me, works for everybody else in the room. But I mean, the mystery is what on earth, right? So the question is how. I mean, you guys want to kind of back up the policeman who's tasked with who's being tasked with arresting the fellow in the Arby's. The policeman, as I implied earlier, is not exactly enthusiastic about being the one to do this, but is a little more willing if you're going to be backing him up on this. So that is kind of where I'm at with that. So you guys want to kind of get to work on that?
Yeah. So you're saying the Ankylosaur guy is at an Arby's right now, or was that?
That is correct.
Okay.
Jay, I just want to make sure, culturally speaking, we do have Arby's.
Yes, we do. We do have Arby's.
Just well, I mean, I'm from California, and if I said, "Oh, he's at the Jack in the Box," and you guys are like, "The what?" So
Right now, we just got Jack in the Box.
Lucky you, Tomaine with it, I imagine.
I know. I'm like, woo. I say we let the civilian cops go in. Well, so ARC suggests letting civilian cops handle it. We are on standby. If it goes sideways, we get involved with this first guy. Just kind of let's get some information about apprehending this first guy and his civilian identity.
Since the other guys stayed on the move,
right?
The other policemen are other people are kind of tracking them and keeping an eye on them and stuff. Strangely enough, they report that the other two individuals just do not in any way act furtive. They don't act like they're they don't act like they're on the run or anything like that.
Yeah, so my thought is if we don't go, right, maybe we don't escalate the thing and they can carry this guy off as a civilian. But then I have a strange request, is that if they're able to arrest him, apprehend him, and get him back to a police station to, for questioning and things like that, don't put them all in the same place. Put them in different physical buildings, geographically separate. Would be my request.
Unbeknownst to one another, right?
Yes, because that I don't know that's coming out my gut. I don't know.
Yeah, your gut that has the image of all of them clasping hands and there being a bright flash of light and all of them shown instantly powered up all at once, that kind of thing. I think I know that gut. Yeah.
that bothers me a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Let's carry on then. I would like to cut to the chase. Let's look at some skills. By the way, I know that Mark stung by multiple endurance drains and destructions and awful things that were directed at him last round. 6 points of power defense is now sitting firmly in Agent One's repertoire.
Heck yeah.
Soon to be 10 is my suspicion. And and Jay, I don't know if you spent your 6 points or not.
I didn't. When I do the math, I think I'm running a deficit, so I did not spend those 6 points.
Well, we'll play with his points in a little bit then and see where we get. Wouldn't want our champion's math to be,
Right. I think I'm
Yeah.
down a
Space and
disadvantage.
time warps
that
when
would-
that happens. Baby Jesus cries, all sorts of
Jay, did you want to just let the cops handle it, or do you want to be like I was thinking, like, Agent One could be nearby in,
Right,
in
right.
civvies,
Yeah.
like just looking like a normal person, like sunglasses, a hat, overcoat,
Right. No, I agree. I think we're
And if
close
something,
by.
yeah,
Yeah, I
if
agree.
something goes south, then we can just kind of duck in and
Yeah.
Right.
do the thing.
Unusual looks at at your rating. Just keeping that in mind. That
Yeah, well, I figure at the least if I'm not too close, I put the sunglasses on,
Right.
maybe put a hat on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, that's not a problem, and they are, they're more than happy. The cop in question is more than happy to have you there, backing things up. And he, as the guy's leaving the restaurant, the cop lets him finish his burger out of whatever puzzled humanitarianism is at work there. And the upon exiting the restaurant, the policeman, hails him and says, "Excuse me, sir, can I have a word with you?" Um, and the guy says, "Sure," and then is mightily puzzled when he gets the sort of, wrist grab, spin around cuff treatment. The guy is just like, at first he's actually mad until he sort of gets a clue and realizes that he really is truly being arrested. It's not a prank or something, and then he goes
Right.
really compliant really fast.
Huh.
So yeah, the policeman says, he's like, "I got him, Agent One, Agent One, I got him, Agent One."
Uh,
The guy's got his wallet, and his name is Ed Everly, and he is, apparently he's like a middle school substitute teacher.
Okay.
Currently not, employed, but that is his job description. He's kind of like, waiting for the next sub kind of thing going on, has a
right.
minor salary from the city for this purpose. And um, so, yeah, he's bundled in, and when questioned, okay, that's a good, yeah, I imagine that they're going to question it, right, with you guys in attendance or at least somewhat in attendance. And when they question him, uh, he's baffled at first. Seems like, so like, what? No, that wasn't me. What are you talking about? I'm just Ed. I'm just and what would I do with anything like that? What are you talking about? When shown like pictures, he's kind of like, oh, I can't tell you that. And he looks really confused. Like, I can't tell you that. So, and the police interrogator kind of sits back and like looks at the camera because he's like clear. He's like, wait a minute, something's wrong with this guy. To cut to long story short, the same thing occurs when they eventually get hold of, as I said, the welder by name of
Right.
Ron Reynolds
Right.
and the Lawrence Lowry, who was the anomalator, who also, I believe, was somewhat philosophical in his dialogue and has no backgrounds that seems like that, and a very normal looking person, not a winged monstrosity, Gary Gatt, Gatt.
Huh. Okay.
And what was his name was Scratch?
Yeah. Scratch, the Anomalator, and Kylo and Weak Force. Also known as the good guys.
The good guys.
And so yes, their names are legit, alliterative as they may be, and the interesting thing, perhaps from your perspective, Mark, just to because again you were the one who had sort of the contact dialogue with them, Agent One was that Ankylo, um, or the guy who was Ankylo, um, is like a third party. He's the most educated of the bunch. He's the third party mediator in as a legal profession. I mean, that's his job. It's part of a company that specializes in third party arbitration, and is a particularly mellow kind of dude. And
Wait, this
you may
is
recall, yeah,
Ankylosaur, or I thought you said
Ankylo
he.
is the name, not Ankylosaur.
Okay,
Um,
I thought you said he was a middle school teacher.
oops, is he the Ankylosaur? Right, he's the middle school teacher. Okay, well, anyway, whatever he is, he's a really, really mellow dude,
Okay.
and that's what I'm doing is contrasting him with the belligerent and kind of truculent take down the big guy kind of attitude that Ankylo had. Remember, he was
Okay.
real.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
a real trash talker when you were fighting him in a kind of
Hmm.
very resentful way.
Okay.
So the police psychologist that had been called in is like really scratching her head. She's going, we've got completely different personalities. We've got complete separation of the personae that you met in combat, superpower combat, and the people that we know were the people involved. But it's four distinct cases of amnesia past any kind of clinical meaning. I mean, she goes into a little toot and explains things like how amnesia is not like it's in the movies and stuff like that, and true amnesia as people think of it doesn't actually exist or whatever. So somebody kind of flaps her down and then she goes off on this, and she goes, okay, so what's up with these men is not ordinary or even documented mental dysfunction. And for it to be affecting all of them,
Right. Right.
and the military guys, like, and the way they fought, I mean, they were completely coordinated. They were, that was you know grade A tactics and timing, and you know as far as they could tell, the fact that Scratch could not quote scratch Arc, the fact that the exploding shells did knocked Agent One around, but by no means took his head off, for example. Um, the fact that as far as they could tell, nobody can quite figure out what the Annihilator actually did, but he did. They saw him like direct bolts and force around, but nobody's real sure what it was. And also, Weak Force seems not to have done any actual striking or zapping, so much as just extending his field through movements of his body, and whenever you touched it, you went flying. And remember, he even used it to break apart your grab on Kylo. So, so people are trying to figure out like what they do, but nothing they did really packed a punch that's anything like what either of you can do. If you set up and like do the gamer thing, put a post in the field and say how much damage can I do to the post? I mean, they don't pack anywhere near that. So the fact that they were able to get as far as they did in straight up combat, that was all teamwork, all coordination of the right attack at the right time relative to one another. So how could four separately disturbed schizoid personalities do that? right? That's the psychologists and the military guy are like talking a mile a minute right now. They're like, no, this is not normal. Something's different about this. This is the key, says Laura. The key here is not a stand-up fight with these guys. I mean, look at these guys. What if you did go and beat the shit out of them? What if you did go in and like pound them? We'd have Ed Everly there, beat to a pulp with no trail on Kylo at all. I mean, that's someone else like gets really nervous. Wait a minute. You're saying like maybe someone else could be Kylo next? And they all get really, they were like, they'd already checked off the box on arrest, right? Every single law enforcement person you're dealing with here, at least 20 people at this point, every single one of them had checked off arrested in their head. Solved. Got that far. Done.
Right.
Okay? And then to suddenly be bumped back off of that particular box, nobody in the room likes it. They are all completely stunned.
Well, the test is obviously if the four of them show up again while these guys are incarcerated. Is it literally these guys who are being controlled to do these things, or is it just any four guys? So obviously we can hold them in custody for a while and see what happens. But really then, and I don't know, again, how much, super heroic stuff is in the world at this point, but I would think, having met someone like Tendril, that there's some big players that maybe could pull off something like this. I don't know that, Agent One would know who those were, but
well, they start speculating and say you're thinking it's a work of another supervillain, and they're thinking about this. I mean, you can never tell what Tendril does, but except that just to pick Tendril as an example, she never does anything that doesn't toot her own horn.
Right.
So, that kind of puts her out of the top of the list. Unless it's some...
So, I just had a thought. Can Ark, using his time gadget pool, I'd like to pull a device out that lets me...
Jay, every power in the book.
And some that aren't in the book.
That's right. And as Mark and I were discussing, and this is something I had been posting about, led to his question. I'm making literal use of a rule in Champions 3, which is that you can combine powers into a single attack freely. You can define any attack as any combination of attack powers as a single attack. There's built-in limits in this edition because the endurance cost is insane, and so on. So therefore, to do that, they're necessarily smaller than the full power.
Right.
But you can get any combination of powers as a single power.
Gotcha.
So you can do that in your pool too.
What I want to do is pick one of the suspects. My device will run back in time, maybe the last 24, 48 hours, so I can see what they do. I don't know how to build that, but that's the effect I want. Right, that'll take me some time. That feels like mind control, limited.
It is mind control because effectively you're finding out what that person did.
Right.
And so, you know what? It's telepathy. It's not mind control.
Yeah, I was going to say telepathy.
There we go. Okay.
It's that's the power under which this special effect falls. I mean, it's, as I keep talking about, especially in Champions in general, but it's kind of hard to get people to see it.
We go. The pool itself, it's 45 active points.
45 active points, rock and roll.
Yeah.
That means that no power that you put in there can be more than 45 active
Right.
points. But when you limit them down, that means you can have a bunch at 45.
Right. It also has that it's a gadget pool, so everything's at OAF.
Okay, yeah.
And that's how I paid for the pool, the bigger pool itself.
Well, the bigger pool itself has to be paid outright.
Right.
The control cost.
Right. It's 15,
Right.
15 and 30 base.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
So I have that. All right. So then, let me see here.
So to keep it simple, you've got 9 dice of mind control. You're out of combat, so you don't have to make a skill roll. You just whip it up.
All right.
And you got 9 dice of telepathy, and since we're not in a position where you really have to, I don't think anyway, where you have to really worry about how much points you've devoted to something else.
Right.
That's cool. And besides, I mean, since it's automatically an observable accessible focus, it's only going to cost 22.5 max anyway.
Okay.
You could even make it, 2 uses if you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
At which point your cost is like dropped down to like 8 or 6 points or something ridiculous like that.
Something ridiculous. I gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, if you don't mind just having point and shoot gadgets, you can do this all day.
Okay.
Right.
All right. That's my plan, is to whip up this gadget, turn it on this guy, look at what he was doing the last 48 hours.
I can't wait for this. What's your dialogue when everybody's saying, if only we could figure out what happened to this guy, how he got this way? What? And you're like, wait, what? What do you mean? If only.
Yeah. Yeah. We can see this. We can look at this. You can't and then I'm trying to figure out where all my stuff comes from.
Somebody dude, Hammerspace. They shove a laptop at you. They just shove a they're getting a clue. They're like, they shove a laptop at you.
Yes. And then I wire it in so that whatever outputs are coming from my device, they can see it on the laptop. I put the headset on the suspect.
I just love it. It's like Josie and the Pussycats. They just like whoop, and the thing's there, and it goes click, 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 and here, plug it in.
Here it is. Yeah. Plug it in. Turn it on, and we're looking at the last 48 hours of the weld.
Okay, you've got an ECV of 4, if I recall correctly. Why don't you just buy some skill levels into that device?
Right. My 5 points per skill level. Is that right?
That would be with all mental powers. You could just make it.
Oh, no, I don't want that. Yeah, no, I just want, yeah.
That's 3 each. So, I mean, you could throw in 5 skill levels, no problem.
Yep, that works.
Okay, so that puts you at an OECV of 9.
9,
coming in on a 3. So that's 17 or less. Go ahead and roll.
17 or less. Yeah. Real dice.
See, this is superpowers, right? This is how you do it.
I have 13 on a dice.
That's not a problem. Go ahead and roll 9 dice of effect, because this is actually kind of important. That mind scan, I realized I never bothered to have you roll for the effect, because all we needed to know was how many individuals. And I never bothered to actually, roll the effect when I looked at the tape. But here it does matter, because here you're up against somebody.
Am I counting total or just body?
This is total.
Okay. So that's 5, 15, 25, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I got to roll one more. So I'm at 25, 26, 27.
Man did not bring enough dice to the champions game.
I did not. I did not.
Cardinal sin.
I knew it.
We have.
I did. I didn't bring enough out. I didn't take enough out. I forgot what I was playing.
Yeah. Eat me, Shadowrun. We play champions. We got more dice than you. Well, so the impact of this is fairly clear. You've got, I know the intelligence that you're up against, and you have managed to get a substantial enough effect that, yes, you can see that, is this on Ed Everly or on This is on Ed Everly, right? And Kylo.
Yeah, is he
Yeah.
the guy we found first
Right.
at the Hardee's?
Yeah.
Arby's. Yeah.
And so Hardee's, Arby's, and so the so he ends up you know what? One Koch brother owns one, and the other Koch brother owns the other. Is that what we're talking about here? That's my guess, right? So we have your knowledge. We actually watch him. I mean, they're like watching the past unwind, and everybody's like, their jaws are dropping. They're like watching time travel on the laptop.
Right.
And what you see is that he had been, you know, doing his job or getting ready for his job and things like that, and he ended up just like acting all furtive and made like a really lame ass excuse for not being able to go to work, and then like ducked around the corner and found a briefcase full of this armor, and you know, and as he was putting it on, then the minivan roared up and he like jumps into the van and, you know, is like fist bumping on the anomalator, and it for all the world, it was like Peter Parker telling J. Jonah Jameson why he couldn't suddenly be there because he had to duck out the back and be Spider-Man. You know, I mean, it was.
That's right. I got to do this thing.
Right, right, and like even the boss was like, wait, what? You know, that makes no sense. And so, you see one of them on the phone, in the minivan. And he gets a cell phone call, and he picks up his cell phone, and it's his wife, and he says, "Oh yeah, I'm just stopping around the corner for, you know, a grocery run. I'll see you soon," right? And the I don't know, it's not detailed enough aside from that. But
Right.
what's interesting is that when you try to dial past that point, you lose Ed Everly, and you see another person entirely. And that person is a man. That person is seated at a desk, like a personal desk in a house, not an office desk. And that person is drumming his fingers and like concentrating really hard. So whenever in other words, you're trying to follow Ankylo, if you will, back in time.
Right.
And
Right.
you get
Back in
like a
time.
glimpse of Ed Everly, and then it diverts off on this other guy.
Huh. Which is, I'm assuming I don't expect that because this device stays with the person I've got it locked in on.
Precisely.
Awesome. All right. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So you managed to get double on the intelligence of the target, and so that got
Right.
you that far.
Gotcha. Nice.
You can't get deeper to see where he came from or anything, because then you need 3 times.
Right. Nice.
Can we do the thing where we have an image of this other guy?
Right.
Can we start trying to figure out, okay, who is this guy? Are there any police records of this guy or anything like that? You know, maybe contact the press. Like, you know, has this guy, you know, do you guys have this person in your records somewhere?
Yeah,
Any stories
police,
about him?
The police are like, you know, okay, well, at least we've got something. We have an actual image. The trouble is that face recognition, well, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's not like in the movies. and people's faces are way too much alike for that to happen, right? And so that's one thing. And another problem, if you will, is that the guy is disappointingly generic.
Right.
He's really, I mean, he's kind of, he's a Louisiana white boy, middle class, middle income looking guy. And that is tough, right? So they're going, man, you know, so they're saying, well, we can do what we can, right? We can pick up some imagery, we can do what we can, but we've got no actual data, no cross-referencing.
We can put him out over the media as a person of interest, right? I mean, we've got enough of an image. We can say, "Have you seen this guy? We'd like to talk to him."
The lawyer speaks up. We need probable cause on that, and I don't think time travel from the superhero is going to stand up.
Yeah. Jay,
We
does
can't put this person's image out there publicly and say we suspect him of unknown hanky panky on the basis of time travel technology.
yeah.
And all the
So
all the other police are like shit. Can't argue with that.
Ark, does your device give us any sense of place at all? Like where this guy might, like, are we just, we're just looking at the memories essentially?
Right. Yeah, we're just looking at this guy's memories.
Okay.
Or I would put it slightly differently. The time travel device does follow that person back through time. It doesn't have to be based literally on memory because this is like time. It's physics, man. This is physics, not magic.
Sure.
And so, so it's not really, I mean, telepathy was just the proper power to use is all.
Okay.
But,
right.
But so.
Well, that's why
right. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that's why I was trying to think, like, if we're literally, are we literally following them back in time so we know, like, okay, at this slice of time he's in this position, at this slice he's this, and then when we get to that guy, do we know, oh, this guy was drumming his fingers, concentrating at, latitude, longitude, this at this
Not
time.
latitude and longitude because you didn't get the result you needed, but at that right time, absolutely, you know exactly when it was.
Got it.
And that would have been about 20 minutes before, 20 minutes to an hour before the first report of the good guys dropping a very confused person guilty of at most a misdemeanor a year ago, in front of a police station and saying, we got him.
Right.
Book him. Take him in. And more scum off the streets. Do your job, officer. That kind of stuff.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this guy still looks guilty. He called off work. He gave his boss some sad story, right? And this is Ark, right? He gave this guy his boss some sad story. He's fist bumping these other dudes like they're old buddies, right? Old war buddies.
Right. The true. They're looking at you, and the lawyer again says, Ark, we have some constraints in dealing with situations like this, and Marcus says, I think I can help a little here. Ark has his own take on law enforcement that's still kind of adjusting. He's got some very good insights, but the lawyer looks at you, Ark, firmly and says, we can't do anything like that.
I don't get it. Didn't you just see this guy? Didn't you just see what happened?
The question, says the psychologist, is whether he's responsible for his actions.
Sure he is. He called his boss. He said, I'm not coming in. We saw him get into this suit. He gets into a van with other dudes we saw just wrecked downtown. He calls his wife. He lies to her, right? Which I don't care if that's legal or not. But again, this whole time,
a chorus throughout the room. It's not.
It's not.
Men, women, everybody. It's not.
It's not. All I'm saying is this guy had a job to go do downtown, which we're on the bad side of, and every step of the way, he made some conscious decisions that we saw.
He took action. That's true. Everybody's speculating. I don't want to role play every speculation in the room because there's a bunch now.
Right.
And the problem is they need something kind of actionable to work on somehow. So, Agent 1, you want to deal yourself in on the speculations, or I'm actually kind of interested in your guys' disadvantages. If you look up and down your disadvantages, see where your character's coming from about this.
Well, first off, Agent One would say, "Well, look, why don't we just take the 4 we apprehended? We'll put them in some stasis tubes, keep them on ice, and then I'm sure the central brain at police headquarters will go through the facial recognition in a couple of minutes, and then we'll know who this guy is, and then we'll go after that guy." I mean, that's how we do this, right?
Right. Yeah.
I second most of that.
Right.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, no stasis tubes. Okay, well, you know what I mean.
They say actually yes, we get that. We get that. They're in separate facilities right now. They've all been picked up. They're in separate facilities. They're unaware of each other's location or status. In fact, none of them seem to have mentioned their compatriots. So
They might not have any memory since they're only together when they're, when they can't talk about it. So they may not even know who each other are. But at the least, we can keep them on ice for now to see if this happens again. Like,
right.
if whoever,
right. Everybody's in agreement on that one for sure. The only other thing I will say at this point is that it'll take a while as they, first of all, they're really big debate about whether they're going to release that they have stopped the good guys, right? That the police have them in custody because they really don't want the good guys to suddenly appear out of some other spot and start doing their thing after claiming that they'd apprehended them. So a great deal of pain goes through their faces as they realize that they can't call this a caller. And and especially because, already by the end of the day, the citizens groups, everybody is all about, are the good guys associated with the police? Are these more superheroes on the police department who are being used to, discriminate against people? And, the class action suit across the 50 people that they'd rounded up, is underway. Somebody's trying to put it together, right? Half of the people in question are like, "Hey, can I go home?" And everybody's like, "Go, get out of here, go! No, you were not arrested by a superhero. Go!" Right? And so, so that's happening. But still, I mean, there are people who are like, "Well, police are obviously, partly responsible for this in some way." So all those fires are burning. So in the middle of it, the psychologist actually would like to talk with you guys a little bit, um, and is thinking, okay, can we go over the personalities like one by one? Do you remember anything that any of them said?
I mean, I can give you a general idea. I didn't understand a lot of what Weak Force said, but it seemed to be science, and he seemed to know a lot about it.
All right. So, and weak force, physics, right? And someone else says, yeah, that's one of the fundamental forces of the universe. There's like magnetism and stuff, and all the big ones that we all talk about and everything. But then there are these weak forces, and so they're like, wow, okay. So everybody starts talking. Okay, the psychologist is like, shh, shh, shh. I'm like, okay, we got physics, like techno basic theoretical, that's the word, theoretical physics, right? Okay. What else? What else? And everybody's looking at you because you were the one who got to talk to them basically.
Yeah. Mark, I'm trying to remember exactly. Other than that discussion, there was Ankylo who was just kind of smack talking me the whole time, right? So I don't know that there's much, I mean, it was obviously kind of cocky, and
his the details to help out Agent One's memory is that the details are that he was very resentful of you being big and very triumphant about knocking you off your feet and very
okay.
very
Yeah, I remember that now.
yeah. kind of a real, now you took it. See, how do you like it? That kind of thing. Huh. All right. Let's see. Resentful, bullying, something like that, right? And the psychologist, okay. Kind of hard to say with the others. Kind of monstrosity thing going on there, but that's weird. I mean, two of them look very. Weak Force is actually kind of charismatic, whereas Scatch is kind of a Halloween monstrosity, and then the Ankylo guy is scary. So the psychologist is going nuts. Marcus says, "Aren't you forgetting something?" The psychologist kind of flinches a little bit and says, "Oh yeah, that." The clear designation of whom the good guys think are criminals.
Right. Yeah.
They're not all black or Latino, but everybody was, for lack of a better word, they just weren't executive suits. Some were employed, some weren't, some had a little bit of criminality there in the background, some didn't, but everybody looked like somebody who was at most off work. Not necessarily. Some were homeless, but not others. But nobody had that TV upstanding citizen look to them at all. And they're disproportionately non-white. So yeah, I mean, all of a sudden the psychologist is like, wait a minute, what are we looking at here? And so, so she's like, I think I might be able to get kind of a profile out of this. It's weird. If only I had some way of like correlating this. If only I had some way of like, damn it. So, anyway, that's where that's going. I'm sure another device could be whipped up, and it wouldn't be particularly hard to make it powerful. So, we can go from there if we want to. Agent One, what do you want to do in all this? I mean, I don't want you guys to be passive. How do you guys want to handle this, or anything?
Well, I mean, step one is waiting to see if the good guys show up again, or if we've actually caught the guys who need to be used to create the good guys. But I mean, other than that, obviously there's some mastermind, for lack of a better term, behind this, and I want to find the mastermind.
The psychologist is saying, I think if we put together the anomalous behavior of each of them all together,
right?
Maybe that's the mastermind as a personality. Maybe
there you go.
All right.
Is there a way, Ark, to build something that will assist the psychologist in this? Can we scan for this person? Or alternately, if the good guys show up again, trace where the control's coming from. But that would mean allowing the good guys to, instantiate themselves or whatever.
Right. And I'm trying to avoid the look forward, which would be back for me, but forward from now in time to see if they appear again. Can I have that device so I know where that is? That feels cheap. I don't want to do that.
Well, considering that there's a role involved, and that would be a particularly much, much, much tougher role.
All right.
For the power in question, it would not be telepathy. The power.
Go ahead.
kind of interesting to think about what that power would be. I might have to think about. I'm looking through all the senses just in case there's. They don't have a generic special sense or time sense, but you think they might be. I have to think about that a little bit. Sort of a cosmic awareness kind of foo-for-all going on there. But
All right. So what
go on.
I'm stuck is what kind of device can I provide to help the psychologist? I got nothing.
Well, wouldn't this essentially be another kind of mind scan where you're saying scan for people who match the profile that the psychologist has created?
You could do that. It's a much, much bigger web than just the dozen people he did last time.
Yeah.
I mean,
You'd
you
be
want to run
scanning.
this citywide. His role is going to drop down to like 4 or less and stuff like that. I'm not saying
Right.
no. It's just that it would be very, very hard.
Right. And I already have that device built. I would just be reusing it, or am I building it all over again?
No, you'd be tuning it to a different frequency.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you can start working on that a little bit. As I kind of hunt through a bit here.
Okay.
But more importantly, neither of you has detective work, do you?
I don't think so.
I do not.
Because if you have the points for that, Jay, that does sound like something your character does a lot of.
I have security systems and stealth.
Right. So, but just thinking, if that's somewhere you might want to go with your points, just based on how you're playing the character.
Right.
So, let's see.
Can he build a device that does detective work?
No, it's a skill.
Yeah.
You can't do that in Champions 3?
No, you can't.
Okay.
It's kind of a legalistic argument that you can't. I mean, there's no. It's just that every discussion of things like the very pool refers to powers.
Right.
So conceptually, whether you could or not, but to go kind of legalistically, it's not indicated as such.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's one of the things I liked about third. Playing with the guys I played with, they would roll. They would love to roll. They abused it, and I didn't like it, and so we played a lot of third that way because it wasn't there. That was just my experience. I'm not saying it's bad.
Skill levels in particular are mighty cheap if you start throwing them around as powers and slots and stuff.
Right.
And that's bogus. All of a sudden you've got plus 20 to hit and shit like that.
Right. Right. And that's what was happening for me.
So let's see. Let's take a look though. Detective work's really what you want. Fortunately, Laura Roberts is a competent NPC, a competent NPC, and has detective work. So therefore, she's going to get in on the act. So if you want to try to enhance what she's doing with, with like a coordinating role or whatever, that's fine. Since this isn't really a combat situation, I'm going to go ahead and take it as given, and we'll move our way through it with some special effects, like maybe you put a headset on her and it glows and shit like that. And so what it comes to is she says, when she takes the headset off and the Stronco effects, kind of diminish and everything, and she's like, we missed something. Their names. How many people pulled at random have alliterative name, have names with a first and last name matching in their letter? There's only one place where that happens all the time. Comic books.
I start checking my device, making sure everything's wired up right, and I didn't miss a thing.
Something went wrong. You fried her brains, right?
Yeah. Looking at the connections.
Yeah.
If there's anybody else in the room, Agent 1 would kind of lean over and be like, "What's a comic book?"
That's right. Yeah. Exactly. Fantastic. So, so the psychologist is like, I think that's it. We got a comic book fan, a physics geek, a kind of Law and Order out of movies kind of guy, some kind of, borderline alt-right, maybe, but resentful of bullies, resentful of tough people, resentful of. Oh my God, says Laura. Oh my God. What, says the psychologist. Laura says, you just described everybody we fail as an applicant for being a cop.
So you're saying our bad guy?
Especially white men. And she looks a little hesitant in saying that out loud, but, you know, and so the psychologist was like, pull the files. Pull the files. We've got pictures. We've got data.
Brilliant.
So yeah, that's it's so what were you gonna say, Ark? Sounds to me like you were having an interesting brain melt there for a second.
Oh, that our bad guy is a cop wannabe.
Yes.
But if you got files, okay, that's a lead. That's some place to go. I'm still skeptical.
Right. Right. So yeah, they swing into action and
All right.
start their analysis, looking for candidates. And anything you guys want to do?
I mean, I don't know that Agent One would be of any use looking through records, although, if they literally need eyeballs, Agent One can do that. But otherwise, I'm kind of just waiting to see if the good guys show up again.
Right.
If we,
Okay. They do. They strike at dawn. They strike at dawn, crash, and it's winter, so it's dark. And they crash into people's apartments and houses, in a very brutal fashion. And they are in this time are rounding people up, and it's in a given neighborhood. It's actually where you live, Agent One.
uh-oh.
No.
The reports are coming in. Police have been on high alert for this kind of thing. The helicopters are flying. You guys are, they're ready for it this time. The task force is on. Marcus is given a vest. He's like, and he's like, kind of not real happy about being like Mr. Police guy. He's actually kind of like an anti-police, college, film student kind of guy, who'd been like looking forward to, giving it to Laura Roberts, at the interview that he was supposed to have or started to have. Right. Now he's like in the police helicopter, being handed a manual, and he's like, you know. So yeah, but you guys are being flown helicopter wise to the scene, and the information's coming in thick, and it's not just where you live, Agent One, it's where you live.
Right.
The reports are actually getting kind of disturbing. Everybody that they're hauling out is a woman, and they're all from a fairly concentrated area of about 4 or 5 blocks. The property damage is extensive. They basically blow in through a door or blow in through a wall or blow in through a series of windows and lay waste to a place, wreckage and everything, and like seize somebody and, drag her out and hurl them into a given 4-way intersection and, basically threaten them that, they're not going anywhere. They do seem to be targeting. Well, whether they're going after specific people or not is really hard to tell. And so, yeah, they're that's what they're doing. I mean, it's actually a little more destructive and a little bit. I mean, people are getting, there's the 911 goes off all over, right? Everyone's like 911ing from that area right away. Some people try to fight them and are battered. Like a group of citizens, base group of people who live there, come out with sticks and stuff, maybe a gun or two, and they just get hammered. Um, So there's already casualties, not necessarily fatalities, but people badly enough hurt to go to the hospital. And right now they seem to be making some kind of a statement. You can the by the time you guys get there, they're like
Uh-huh.
standing in a kind of around this group of like huddled, scared, slightly beaten people, and there's like a heap of like people groaning and whining, and hurting over there, on the side of a building, and other people are like trying to like stand off and protect them, but are terrified, right? There's already been an explosion or two. Um, there's wreckage at one apartment building, damage on a number of others, and so facing outward from the group of prisoners, if you will, and Kylo is like doing the arms folded thing, and no wait, and Kylo's like doing the crouching thing, you know, the Annihilator's doing the arms folded thing, looking around. The Scratch is on the corner of a building, looking down at them all. Or maybe perched on like top of a streetlight right there. Yeah, that's better. He's like in that immediate area, not up on the corner. He's perched on a streetlight right there, but in position, like in 4 positions. And Weak Force has levitated up and is like making a stentorian voiced speech. Unfortunately, in the world, the human voice doesn't carry in this urban environment like it does in the movies, so nobody can hear what the fuck he's saying. But he's going at it, though. He's going at it, and he's making a speech. And
Okay.
so that's what's going on by the time you guys get there, and it's kind of scary, actually. I mean, the people are saying, "Geez, that's a lot of citizens there." I mean, if you guys start tearing up the joint,
I have an idea that's hopefully might avoid a combat,
go
but
for it.
we'll see.
Go for it.
Okay. So are we getting flown in or something by helicopter or something like
Yeah.
that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I turn to one of the, 'cause I assume there's one or more police officers with us.
Yes.
I turn to one of them and I say, "Give me your badge."
Sure.
You'll get it back at some point. Give me your
Sure.
badge.
He says, "No problem. Here."
Thank you. So, Ark, my plan here, I'm going to drop down and I'm going to approach them. I'm just going to walk. Okay. I'm not going in guns blazing, but you may just want to keep an eye on me in case anything goes south. Do you want to let me do this, or is there something you want to do?
I'll follow your lead. I don't anything I do, I know this is where you live. Anything I do is going to escalate the situation, and we'll
Make an
we'll have a
intelligence roll quick, Ark.
11.
Attribute
7.
boost. You made it. Attribute boosting is a power.
Well, is it in 3rd edition? Because I'd have done that.
Attribute boosting is a power.
All right. I will do that. I can boost whatever it is you're getting ready to do.
I guess it's presence.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So anything
45 points of presence right now.
Right.
That's a lot of D6s right there. So yeah, if you could do that, that would be great.
I will give that a shot. Woo! I just squeaked by. I need 11 or less. I got a 9.
Fantastic. Well, wait a minute. We're not in combat right now. I would have given you that roll, but okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right, perfect. All right, nice.
I mean, I'm glad you
So-
made it and all for dramatic purposes. Kind of enjoyed your adrenaline and everything, but
I was worried.
no.
I was
Mark
worried.
was on me about the proper use of very pools. I'm not going to try and get away with anything. Yeah, that's right. So, take it, man.
Okay, so I assume.
What does it look like? I got to see this. I got to see it. What do you give him? Well, let's see. Hold on a second. The booster. Yeah, no, you got it. You got it. Go for it.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
thinking it's a headset with these big angular kind of rabbit ear things. That's the device I put on him.
And that makes my presence better.
Yes.
In the
Yes.
future, science will be in the 60s. Okay.
Yeah.
It won't look right. It won't be the future unless it looks like the 60s. God damn
That's
it.
right.
Micro
Okay.
miniature my ass.
Yes.
You can't draw that.
Nice.
Okay. So with my enhanced presence, I'm gonna, hop out of the helicopter maybe a block or two away, whatever the most clear path so that I'm visible as I approach the good guys and their prisoners. I'm gonna take that and just walk. I've got my hands up.
Mhm.
The badge is in one of the hands, and I walk toward them.
From your when just before you do that in the helicopter, they've found the guy. They
Okay.
think they found the guy. They can't verify it, but they think they've got like a profile. They think they've found the guy.
Do they have a name?
Yes. The name is Ken Roach. Roach. Which is a name.
It certainly is. Ken Roach. Okay. Cool. That's good to know. So again, armed with that information, I do what I said I did. I'm approaching them.
I got
my
you.
hands up.
Mhm.
I've got the badge, and I'm keeping an eye to see if they're going to try and attack me. But as I approach, I'll call out, Ken, I'm just here to talk. This badge is yours.
Wow.
We were wrong. You have shown us that we were wrong. And if you come in,
I'm pulling out my presence attack rules. I want to make sure we get all the bonuses and stuff.
yeah, we will deputize you because you have more than earned this badge.
We're going to deputize you, all right. I got a special place for you.
Yeah, really. Well, considering you've got all this freaking presence, your voice is like taking over the whole place, right? I mean, you're like the human super megaphone here, and like you can hear him up in the helicopter, right? Which is really saying something. And Marcus in particular, like, wait, you're gonna do what?
That's right.
And so yeah, not everybody's actually all that thrilled with your with your choice here.
I
But
figured
you're the
as
one
much.
with the presence right now, and so you're the one who's talking. All right, now you're at a disadvantage. You are making an incredible soliloquy. You're in an appropriate setting. You're coming out with a little bit on the positive net gain here. A couple of negatives, a couple of positives, but the positives are outweighing it considerably. Are you going to exhibit any power or anything like that?
No, because I don't want to, I don't want to make them attack again. I just
Right.
want to keep them. I want them to stand down.
Well, you got your own presence.
Yeah, so that's 3d6.
You got 9 more from the power.
Hi, Jehu.
You got 2 more of a net gain given the presence attack modifiers.
So 14 total.
You got it.
Okay, well, I only now it's my turn. I only have
I know. Jay is
12
shocked.
dice with
Yeah,
me
I got
right
Jay
15
is
now.
like, I
down.
have 14.
That's right. I'm looking at 15
Oh,
dice right now.
okay, hold on here. Alrighty.
We're going to go get a coffee while it counts.
That's right.
Yep.
I'm like, I got to get a refill.
That's right.
I'll be right. Talk about the weather a little bit.
You know, Sweden snow, it's pretty.
I got ice.
Hmm. Well, I got some ice too on my steps and all. They don't use salt here, by the way.
I'm at 58.
58.
Yes.
That will do the job. On a presence of 18 is your card.
Wow.
Well, it's multiples, right? So actually 50, you know, you actually just barely were able to clear 3 times. So
Yeah, it's a little bit
yeah,
over.
so
but
you're at 54. It would have is the target for 3 times the presence. So that's actually pretty important. So so you've cleared 3 times presence, which is enough. They stand down.
Nice.
And you recognize, by the way, that it is your landlady slash mentor who is one of the women in this batch, in this group, right? So
I figured as
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Wow.
Later, it will be discovered that everybody that they grabbed had a history with, either well in the past or currently, had a history with public aid. Whether it was just food stamps, or whether it was welfare support, or whether it was state child support or something like that.
Oh, gee. So he's going after them just because they took advantage of programs?
They're all welfare cheats. Everybody knows that.
Of course.
Everybody knows that. Welfare queens. We all know that.
Oh man. Okay, Ken.
Right.
Then,
The biggest problem they have is, okay, even if we apprehend this guy, if he's got whacked powers that make him create supervillains everywhere, number one, what are we gonna do when we don't give him his badge? Because that's the first thing Laura tells you is like, we're not giving him a badge. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
We're not giving
Okay,
him a
good.
badge.
She's she's still feeling out which way your senses of right and wrong here, and so she's a
right.
little more comfortable. She's worked more with Ark. She's a little more comfortable that you don't need quite as much adjustment, apparently. So so that's one thing. Number two, but the concern is, when he doesn't get his badge, is he just going to create more good guys? And if he can create
Right.
any old good guys out of comic book logic, then God knows what he's going to make next time, right? At least the good guys thought they were good guys, right? What if, right? Because this could go. The psychologist is like, this could go really wrong really fast if we're not careful. Another big concern is, can we stop this power? Can we, is there some way to nullify it? I mean, and then somebody, without even being asked, just looks at Ark and says, and no, we're not going to shoot him.
That's inhumane. I wouldn't suggest that. You've got a plethora of drugs in this era that we could use to, keep him under indefinitely.
Well, it's not like the movies, says the psychologist. Everybody's like, we know it's not like the movies. What's your point? And she's like, well, I mean, brain damage, doing the use of sedatives and so on in that kind of quantity is going to have negative effects over time, right?
Oh,
I mean,
we really having this discussion? Look at all these folks he's got rounded up out here. Are you kidding me?
okay, temporarily, okay, within medical limits, right? So but we got to come up with a better solution. So anyway, yeah, they're going to do what they can, and so take it from there. Actually, coming up with the charges is the legal guys are going to, I mean, Laura says, look, I don't want to hear it. We need a whole set of bylaws for working with ARC and Agent 1 alone, let alone the kind of threats that they're helping us against. Make it happen. Something provisional, okay? Just provisional. Come up with it. Come on, put it on the paper towel. I don't care. Just make it happen. So
I would think at the very least, like, he can be charged with stuff like conspiracy and, you know, attempted this, attempted that, since he's a master, because he's the one inducing these people to do this.
It's the demonstration thereof and the probable cause for the demonstration thereof. The psychologist has got to sign off on the profile, you know. I mean, the fact that he responded to his name being said when you spoke to thin air, evidently, you know, all that stuff. They're on it, but they've got to really, they get to work. They've got to really cross the T's. So yeah, that's what it came down to.
I can't remember if we talked about this before, but is there any like equivalent of like Shield or something, you know, or Primus?
Yeah, I hate that stuff. I hate them all.
That's fine. I was just curious, like, if they're big supervillains like Tendril, you know, are there big existing forces that exist to deal with people like that, or no?
Any attempt to do that foundered under its own. It's basically a division of Homeland Security right now, and everybody's like, sitting pretty. I mean, they're not.
And I like that approach. I hate that too. In my game, I make that the player's problem. I make them solve that. Well, so they have to form shield.
I'm also just overly cynical about the existence / competence / institutional, you know, identity of any such thing. I'm totally cynical. I'm like, yeah, okay, there could be one. They suck. Just be my
man, I'm lazy. I don't want. Yeah, I'm with you. They either suck or they're super good. And if they're super good, they're coming for the PCs too.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's easier for me as a GM. They don't exist. That's the PC's problem. They have to figure out what they want to do about that.
Yeah.
Well, if it's any consolation in our games, Primus was always massively incompetent. So.
Right. It's just our own sense of I think it's our own shared sense of, and how would that be?
Right. How would that be?
Know?
Right.
So yeah, cool.
Okay.
Well, this might have been like a little anticlimactic in the sense of superhero battling, but the fact is, it was a psychological problem.
Right.
It was a police work and psychological problem. So we had widget use and presence use and stuff like that got us somewhere. And of course, I can always have them shake off the medication and make another supervillain group if I feel like it, right? But
sure,
yes.
You
can. Which brings me to, we don't have to do it now, but at some point, ARC wants a conversation about building some facility where we can house these folks.
This is also, this is part of that. I get that. And I also, what I was really kind of shooting for with this good guys thing, let's really cement it down who you guys are relative to the police and how instantly you guys have created, given all this, given the way you've played it, you have created an infrastructural loyalty to yourselves that is superseding existing police habits of thought.
Right.
The very fact that you're here, thinking out of the box, sometimes being ridiculous, sometimes being insightful, providing support, listening to the other people, is making a difference to at least some subsection of the police culture in this town. So you guys are, you guys are starting to see that happen. So we're going to sort of invent that as we go through playing the game, and just letting you know that this was a big part of that.
Right.
So the police are overall happy that we're involved, or
depends on what you mean by the police. I'm thinking of the very practical side of the city police, not for the greater Kansas City area. I've been doing some reading on this. Not the greater Kansas City area, but Kansas City, Missouri proper.
Right. Nice.
I've learned a lot. This is really an interesting municipality. It's like Budapest.
No, it is.
Like
it is.
Side of the river, on that side of the river. And so I'm thinking that the direct, hands-on, dealing with the DA, dealing with the, dealing with the statistics, our budget, kind of police culture, and the fact that Laura Roberts was struggling with both infrastructure and with personal habits, individual professional habits that she considered to be abusive. All of a sudden, there's weight given to alternative thinking in that particular batch at multiple levels of the hierarchy. So, if you guys want to talk about you guys doing some good, you've got a little platform now.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at as a super team. Kind of like that idea, actually.